After a headline-grabbing Taiwan visit, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is in South Korea as part of her Asia visit. In the capital city, Seoul, Pelosi met with South Korean political leaders. While in South Korea, Pelosi refrained from commenting on tensions in the Taiwan Strait and on China's ongoing military drills in the region. However, she spoke about North Korea's nuclear program.
When we come and travel as a delegation, our three main pillars are security, economics, and governance. In all three of those areas, the U.S.-South Korea, U.S.-Korea relationship is very strong, and we learn from each other.
We also discussed the North Korean nuclear issue. Both sides expressed concerns about the dire situation of North Korea's growing threat. We agreed to support the efforts of the two governments to achieve practical denuclearization and peace through international cooperation and diplomatic dialogue, based on the strong and extended deterrence against the North that our people can actually feel.
There are reports of Pelosi's plan to visit the demilitarized zone on the border with North Korea. She would be the highest-level U.S. official to visit the area after former President Donald Trump, who met North Korean leader Kim Jong-un there in 2019. Just a day ago, the House Speaker irked China by visiting Taiwan, a self-governed island Beijing considers its own. And now, with the reported visit to the demilitarized zone, Pelosi might trigger tensions with Pyongyang as well. South Korea, however, says the visit will be a sign of deterrence against the North.
Pelosi's delegation is scheduled to visit the Panmunjom area. President Yoon said that this visit will become a sign of a strong deterrence from South Korea and the United States against North Korea.
An in-person meeting could not be scheduled with the South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol due to his scheduled vacation this week, but the two leaders held a 40-minute phone call. Pelosi promised close cooperation with the United States Congress for the development of their global strategic alliance during the talks. Well, we're joined now by WION's U.S. correspondent, Susan Tehrani. She's joining us live from New York. Susan, all eyes are on the Pelosi visit as she ultimately heads back to Washington. Has she created a controversy and now is sort of ducking it in neatly focusing on North Korea and not Taiwan?
It's very interesting because as she focuses on North Korea, there is a NPT review conference happening here in New York, where I am at the United Nations. And it's a time when countries like South Korea and Japan are reconsidering their position about being nuclear free because of the threats that they are facing. For example, Japan regarding China, South Korea regarding North Korea. So not only did she create that kind of controversy with China and Taiwan, but she's taking up really almost an unwinnable fight when she's going and trying to go to that demarcation zone with South Korea and North Korea. And you know, opening up this conversation. It's not clear what she's trying to get out of this, and if she's trying to perhaps, as you mentioned, deviate the conversation to North Korea's issue, where possibly she will rally a lot more support because more countries, of course, are against a nuclear-capable North Korea than, for example, you know, an all-out condemnation of China. The fact that the South Korean president did not meet with her face-to-face, there has been rumors, was because you know, he didn't want a photo op ultimately with Nancy Pelosi, although the office of the South Korean president said that this vacation was planned long before Nancy Pelosi arrived in South Korea. But you just see the nuances of the region and whether or not Nancy Pelosi really bit off more than she could chew heading back to Washington.
And Susan, I mean, given the mixed and muddled messaging from the Biden administration, what sort of a mess does Nancy Pelosi come back to here in Washington?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because there is a sort of rally around the flag kind of sentiment here. Ultimately, while Nancy Pelosi did have a lot of drama and controversy heading in to Taiwan, notably from the Biden administration, while President Biden stopped short of explicitly saying himself that she shouldn't go, she blamed the Pentagon and the State Department. But after she landed there, I think the sentiment ultimately had to be at least out in the open that everyone supported her and it was the right thing to do, whether or not they agreed with her or not, because if anyone had said otherwise, it would appear as if they were taking Xi's side, Beijing's side, and that would be completely unacceptable. And it would appear as though if she didn't go, that the United States would take its marching order and foreign policy agenda from China. But then, as we're seeing right now, the question many are concerned about it and are asking is what is the next step, and whether or not the United States would be willing, ready, and able to aid Taiwan, or even possibly change its policy of strategic ambiguity should things get out of hand between China and Taiwan. And many are, drawing parallels between what happened between Russia and Ukraine. So, yeah, it is a pretty big mess, as you mentioned.
Well, Susan, stay with us. Don't go away. We'll come back to you shortly. That was Susan Teherani, WION's correspondent, U.S. correspondent based in New York.